Recording in
information.
progress.
We'll do that again, just because we just started recording.
Yep.
Good evening. We have a quorum. We'll call the planning board meeting to order. For everybody's information, members of the planning board that are here are Joe Zagrodnik, myself, Jim Aximowski, and Bill Dwyer. This meeting is being recorded. And first up for general information, Mr. Dwyer.
Andrew Morrison.
Good evening, planning board. I'm Andrew Morrison from 6 Bayberry Lane here in Hadley. I'm also the owner of Liquors 44 at 458 Russell Street. And I believe my architect is on now, Chuck Boundley from Plan B Retailers. But we're here tonight to present the board our expansion proposal to go into the presently H&R Block next door to us. We sent plans in last week, I believe, or the week before, and wondering if there's any questions from the board pertaining to it.
Could you prove the plans?
Newbie to this, so I'll try to get it.
Okay.
Hang on a sec. Give me
Just-
one moment. Okay.
Just for everybody's information, Mark Dunn from the planning board has also joined us. We're short one member, so there's only 4 members on the planning board currently. Okay.
So this is our proposal right here, is to bring our bottle and redemption center from where it is presently up to the front. It's going to be a entrance here. One entrance, one exit there. And our goal is to expand our sales floor by approximately 34 more wine racks and another 30 gondolas or shelving units, just to expand our selection in our store there, and to also get the redemption that goes through the store and drips all over the store, out of the store, into a separate area there.
As far as exterior changes, other than the new entrance for the redemption center, and you've got a sign, redemption center, I believe, going above the door.
Yes.
You have details of that you could show us?
So this is the present page. Sorry.
Yeah, Andrew, as far as the details, that is an internally illuminated sign. It's about 8 square feet total, which is well within the allowable for the space. And the only changes on the facade is really take existing glazing, panels out, take a door out from the existing H&R Block and apply an automatic door that allows entrance and exit egress from that space. Probably important to say this as an entirety was permitted about 3 years ago, and then because of lease complications, the project went forward without that space, waiting for the H&R Block to become available. Now we're back into that, so we're just going to complete the renovation, which was once permitted.
I'm sorry, what did you say was internally illuminated?
The exit, Redemption Center is an internally illuminated sign, approximately 8 square feet of space. And it's replacing the H&R Block sign, which currently is approximately 25 square feet. So we're really, 60% less in size of what exists on that facade now.
The
And
H&R
combining that with the already present Liquors 44, which is shy of 32 square feet, will still be within right about 40 square feet, and I believe are allowable at that zone is 64 square foot for that type of business.
The allowable, because it's a multi-tenant building, is 40 square feet. But
Is
if
it
you
40?
40 square feet total, it's irrelevant, but your allowable is 40 square feet. Is the H&R Block sign internally illuminated today too?
Correct.
Oh, it's kind of replacing in kind.
But much smaller.
Comments or questions from the board?
So because the H&R Block was internally illuminated, we have to allow the revised different signage?
Pre-existing grandfathering
Hmm,
and replacing in kind, actually a little bit smaller.
okay.
I suppose if we really wanted to be hard-nosed, we could say no. But typically, we've been allowing other businesses where they're replacing internally illuminated with like internally illuminated, we have been permitting it.
And since this is substantially back from the highway, I don't see it creating too much of a distraction.
What's the address here?
458-9 Russell Street. And we're gonna, the H&R Block now is 458-10. We're gonna stay with the 458-9.
I'll make a motion to waive further site plan approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any other discussions? Hearing none, all in favor? Roll call vote.
Mark Dunn, aye.
Bill Dwyer, aye.
Jim Maximowski, aye.
Joe Zagradnik, aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with one absent or one missing. I don't know what the right word is.
I think we just say 4-0 at this point. We're a four-member board for now.
Okay. All right, 4-0, motion passes. You're all set. I'll get an email out and to the building inspector and you should be all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Turn off your screen share. Okay.
All right. Next up is Tom Corbett.
Good evening. I don't know if my video might come in a little weird. Good evening, Tom Corbett, 0 Point Development. Here for formal submittal of the definitive plan for off of Breckenridge Road, and to get a fee amount in order to pay for the application.
Okay. How many lots are you creating?
2.
The fee based on our 2020, where is it? Subdivision would be $1,650.
Okay.
If we
That
have,
would-
Publish on this one too?
that includes the publishing.
Okay.
Where that's a yes.
Okay. Any other questions from the board at this time?
If
Or
you could just email me your plain application, Tom, I will put the fee on it, sign it, and they can go to the town clerk and get it filed.
Sounds great.
Okay?
I will do that.
Do we want to set a hearing date?
Sure.
I'm looking at October 15th.
What I put my calendar? Oh, here it is. Okay,
We already have a couple of public hearings on the 17th that were bumped because of the primary.
right.
And we're trying to keep the first Tuesday open for Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. So 10:15.
Sounds good to me.
Well, we've got you here. We have heard nothing from the Attorney General regarding the proposed bylaw that's under review. I don't know if you've heard anything.
I haven't. I've been looking. It looks like they extended that to September 25th. So whatever we need to do, when that time arises, we can handle at that point.
Okay, yeah, well, you're right now, you're scheduled for the second Tuesday.
Yes, 17th.
Third Tuesday of September. And if we haven't heard by then, we'll just have to continue it for lack of information, I guess, but not on your part.
I agree. I agree. Sounds good, gentlemen.
Okay.
I think in
take care.
that case, the fallback would probably be for the 15th as well.
Right.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, and next in was Mary Campbell.
Hi there, I'm Mary. I just got in an application for a home occupation. I just got it in a few days ago, so I don't know if you even had a chance to look at it.
So what you filed, and the building inspector sent it around, what you filed is the building department's application.
Oh,
And there are two routes, and you have to go down the more complicated route. So the part you filed with the building department is fine, but you also have to fill out the special permit application, and we have to schedule a public hearing and send legal notices to the newspaper and to your abutters.
Okay.
So what we'll need from you, I can send you the application. I'll try to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
It's not a lot different than what you filled out, but it just goes down a different path. Because you are going to have customers on site. And we will also need two sets of mailing labels for your abutters. The assessor's office can help you prepare that. We need one set to send the notice out to of the upcoming hearing, and one set to send the notice of decision out after that's been done.
What is the address?
139 Mount Warner Road.
Okay. Oh, that's you. I think you were in before to talk to us about that, right? You want to do the horse training or something?
Yep.
Okay. The filing fees recently, you pay the fee to advertise in a newspaper, the fee to mail, and then a small adder on top of that for just general administrative costs. But the big fee that you're going to typically running lately around $560 to $70 ballpark,
Mhm.
and 480 plus of that is the legal notice in the newspaper.
Okay.
It's just that they've gone up a lot in their newspaper ads compared to several years ago, but that's beyond our what you call it, control.
Mhm.
Now, the sketch that you attached to your application was fine for the building department. We do like to have them to scale. And I think yours was sort of freehand.
Mhm.
It was based on the tax map, which is a good start. But you might want to just tighten that up a little bit. I don't think we're going to require an engineer, but we want to be sure that it follows the property lines
Okay.
appropriately. If you were able to have it ready for our next meeting, which will be September 3rd, you can file it then. And we would probably be able to put you on for a public hearing on the 15th as well
Of October.
of October.
Okay.
If you didn't make it for our first meeting, if you made it by the second meeting.
Right. Even if you made it by September 15th, you'd still make October 15th.
Okay. And also this is a pretty small business. I'll be doing it part-time and not having more than, I don't know, like 10, I wouldn't have more than 10 people here, or maybe if there was a birthday party, maybe there'd be a few more. Just making sure, like, I need to do all of this for.
Yep, this is simply a requirement of the bylaw, whether
Yeah.
it's one person visiting or 30 people visiting, the filing requirements are pretty much the same. What will matter is if it was a, a 30-person visit versus your small, several people, it would be the issues of the neighbors having a problem.
Mhm.
Which are probably gonna be so small, it won't be a problem. I don't anticipate, but we've been wrong before.
Okay.
So the biggest problem we get with these applications usually is parking. So as long as you can absorb all of the vehicles on your property.
Yeah.
You're golden.
Okay.
Once you start putting parked cars for your business on the highway, that tends to get people riled up pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of what we're doing here, just making sure that this is going to be a good fit. It might be helpful to also talk to your neighbors before they get the legal notice in the mail.
Right. Yep. And can I give you my email address to get the right form?
I think I have it.
You have it. Okay.
Yes, I have what you sent to the building department.
Yeah.
They forwarded it to me.
Should be good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Jeffrey Casey.
Jeff, hey guys, so this is for the Subaru signage, 299 Russell Street. I had sent an email to the planning board on Friday with the proposed signage. So if you'd like, I can share my screen and we can go through them.
Go ahead.
Let's see, start. We'll start first with the freestanding sign. And so give a little bit more context, as you know, 315 Russell Street is the former Steve Lewis Subaru. Belize acquired it. You had approved redevelopment of it. They're going to redevelop it. And then you had also approved their temporary relocation to 299 Russell Street during that construction. And so now they're just looking to appropriately sign 299 Russell Street. We want to have a conversation about 315 Russell Street, but they're looking to have the appropriate signs at 299 Russell Street. So what you see here, 32 square foot temporary Subaru headquarters sign. It would be externally illuminated. Shift to
How long do you expect to be there? How long is the construction expected to take?
Yeah, Jeff, you think a year, I think is what they're pegging, but I don't know if you know better, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what we're predicting right now is about a year.
Well, thanks.
So this next
is we do the waiver of site plan approval for a period of 14 or 15 months, I think.
Correct. Yeah. And we would expect to be in, Barry's here as well. It's his entity that owns the land. We'd expect to be in at some point prior to the expiration of that site plan waiver to figure out what the more permanent use of the property is going to be. I don't know what it's going to be at this point, but at least we'll have that conversation. So yeah, these signs are temporary. We also have service entrance, 18 square feet. You see it's externally illuminated. You've got that ground mounted light to point to the service entrance. We've got showroom entrance, again, with all due respect, no great shakes. Showroom entrance just at the top of the overhang. And then finally, the Subaru sign. So this is going over the existing, you can see here, if you can follow my cursor, the TJ's True Value Rental, pre-existing non-conforming. It's 4x18. I think it's 76 square feet. It's internally illuminated. We'd be looking to just replace what's there, just put a new face on the existing light box. So we look to have this one internally illuminated in this size, really just following what was there.
Geez, Tom, in the background, you notice there's that big billboard still up. I thought that was gonna be coming down in a year.
Yeah, I think it's 20, maybe Barry remembers, it was part of the Harbor Freight variance that was issued. I want to say it's 2027 that it comes down. There was Barry, when he bought it from Dick Akitsa, inherited a lease for that
Right.
billboard. And so we said, what we're not gonna, and we've made it clear to them already. They tried to renew it. We made it clear to them that that's not going to be renewed. So once that lease expires, and I say 2027, Joe, I'll figure it out, but don't quote me on that one. It does come down at the expiration of the lease term.
Thank you.
I remember that it was somewhere around right around that time frame you mentioned when Harbor Freight, we made the agreement about the sign enlargement with ZBA that would come down, that would be about 5 years.
Yes, yes, and I can look to confirm, and I can send you an email on that. And then while we haven't presented something on it, for 315 Russell Street, Jeff and I were just talking today, and we can come back with something specific, but I think it would be useful, Jeff actually thinks it would be useful to put some sign on the 315 property, even though there's construction fence, to point people to this temporary Subaru home. So if you want us, I'd expect you want us to come back to show you what it looks like. If you're okay with just stay within 64 square feet and you're fine, that's fine as well. But we'll take your direction on that one.
I guess just to come back to show us what it's gonna look like, that's all. If
Okay.
you're within 64 square feet, it won't be a problem.
Okay, we can do that.
Any other comments or questions on the signs? Hearing none, Mr. Dwyer,
I'll do a motion to approve the signs as presented.
I'll second it.
okay, motion second. Any other discussions?
No,
Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
done, aye.
Where I,
Maximowski, aye.
Grodnick, aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Good luck.
now, Barry was in next, followed closely by Kishore and Tom. I think you're all talking about the same thing, so maybe we could just jump to Holly, who I think has something quick.
Hi everyone, I'm Holly. Thanks for chatting with me today. So timing could not have been more perfect on this. So the reason I'm here is my husband and I own a wine business, and it's all up to now been import and e-commerce. And our goal is to create a winery retail space. So we've been looking at a few properties in Hadley, and before I get too far along, because I'm basically we have the national permitting done, but we also need I think it's Abra, like the Massachusetts one, and then the town. So I basically wanted to explain my plan to y'all and understand better from a property standpoint what zoning we can realistically look at and see if any of the currently available ones will work for our purpose. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
So yeah, so basically we're working to get a farm winery license. Our goal is to initially import and bottle wines. So our company is a fairly well-known natural wine company. So we work with organic producers. We actually used to live in Spain, and fun fact, there's a House Hunters episode about us when we started the company, and then COVID hit. So we actually moved back home during COVID. And since we've been out here and bought a house and had kids, we've decided that we want to plant roots and kind of expand. So Hadley's super interesting to us. Our mother-in-law lives in Sunderland, and we're there every day. And there's actually a space on River Road that looks super interesting. It's, I think I put in the email, 311 River, or maybe it's River Drive. And it's a large space, but I think it's zoned limited business or agricultural or something. So for the farm winery license,
It's an unlimited business. It's the Northampton Boston Express site.
Okay.
yeah, so we are going to see that one tomorrow. So I guess my initial question is, would that property potentially work? Because if so, then I can go through the next steps with the Massachusetts Department of Alcohol and Tobacco or whatever.
Your business is bringing wine in from outside the state.
It'll be a mix of all, yeah. So like we have friends that produce wine and then also from outside the state. And then essentially it's a sustainability play where and we'll be bringing in bladders of wine in 4x4 containers or larger vats, and then basically bottling it here because the environmental impact of bottling here and distributing is significantly lower than bringing a bunch of bottles either across the US or.
My question is very specific, and
Mhm.
we need a very specific answer.
Mhm.
Your wine is coming in from out of state?
Yeah, some of the wine would be coming in from out of state.
It's not produced in Massachusetts?
Some of it will, but some of it would not be correct, like Vermont or
Like percentage-wise, what would the split be?
probably 40-60.
40% in-state, 60% out?
Yeah.
Then you do not qualify for a local winery license under, I believe, the town bylaws. If you were produced within the state, you would be able to get, I believe, you would be exempt from quite a few zoning requirements as far as the bottling. But since
Interesting.
the majority of your wine is not made in Massachusetts, then you would need to qualify as an industrial producer or bottler, and you would need to be in an industrial zone. Is that a good interpretation, gentlemen?
I didn't know we actually had a wine bylaw.
No, not a wine bylaw. I'm talking a state. If you were a micro
Right.
wine, if you're a winery producer in state, and you're using in-state, I believe the law is if you're using in-state produced products, you could get, like the microbreweries, you could get the winery license.
Yeah, my interpretation from talking with them, just because they came out to our house recently, was that you need to they don't have a specific percentage. Like, because I actually work with the UMass Vineyard. So like our plan is to do a decent amount of stuff with UMass, but there's honestly just not a ton of wine, as you guys can imagine, in Massachusetts. So a lot of it's coming from other places. I could be incorrect, but that's what it was like the inspector said, that he said, yeah, like the goal is that you're using a significant amount of local, but it doesn't exclude us from getting a farm winery license.
Okay, if you're just bottling and you're not producing it yourself, you also went to another area. I firmly believe, I'm not trying to be mean here, but I believe you would need to be in an industrial zone as a bottler.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's super helpful. Well, yes, our goal is to also produce. Initially, we plan to just bottle, but our goal is we plan to use every aspect of the winery license at some point. We don't want to have a tasting room initially, but we would like to eventually launch a tasting room, eventually launch our own production. But we want to start with the bottling because that's like the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for us. We have a contract pending with a large retailer to sell the wine that we bottle. So that's basically like the first thing that we need to meet. And then after we meet that requirement, then we'll start, experimenting with our own production. And
I understand that's your business plan and I respect that. However, I don't think we could give you a zoning exemption based upon, well, we plan on doing this. You would actually need to be doing your own winery producings to get into the door on this.
right. And that's totally fine. So, but what that means is that you're basically saying that I should only look at industrial zoned
In Hadley, yes.
in Hadley.
See,
And it can be anything zoned industrial.
yes, and all of our industrial zones are the same.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, that's perfect. That answers my question, and that'll make it so if that's the case, then basically I can go look for those properties, and when we find one, feel pretty confident that when we go to submit all the paperwork, we'll be able to have it.
I would encourage you, when you find a property that you think meets your needs, come back and ask us, just to verify everything, because we don't want you to go after a bad investment, if you would. We're not talking to anybody. We want everybody to walk away either I can't do this in Hadley, or yes, I can do this.
Yeah.
We don't want you to get burned, if you would.
So
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, we've also been talking to the Mill District in Amherst because it seems like they're putting in a brewery there as well, and they have people that are interested in basically getting that type of licensing there. But we were looking to have more of a like separate space, so some of these ones have looked good as well. So that's
it's also worth exploring. I can't say that I've ever had a reason to look at the farm brewery or farm winery rules. And if the ABCC inspector thought you'd be all right, we'd be interested. If we're misinterpreting state law, we'd be happy to hear about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're interpreting what we believe is the way it's interpreted. And if the state is saying something different, we're willing
his
to
exact
listen.
words were, "This passes the sniff test." Apparently, everything initially is if the property passes the sniff test or not, and a lot of them have not. But yes, like that type of property from him, he says passes the sniff test. But then it's about if the town is okay with that zoning. And then they basically move on to the next one, which is, does it drain correctly? Does it do this? Does it have all the specifics of what we need for the winery license?
Yeah.
Just so your information, where your address is located, there is no sewer.
There's really, that's interesting. I talked to the realtor today and she said there was, but yeah, that would be a problem. So that's good to know.
There's no sewer at 311. The sewer stops at
Well, the outfall,
the corner of Knightley Road and River Drive, about a half mile up the road from you.
The property as a whole wraps around onto Stockbridge.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, the actual postage stamp that the Express building is obviously on River Drive, but I believe that there is a connection out the back to Stockbridge.
Okay.
and also too, the realtor may be correct because the sewer exit line runs by the front door of the garage as it goes down the hill towards the Connecticut River there, I believe. But what you need is a connection that will go back to the Amherst sewer processing plant. And
Yeah, she can't connect into the line that goes to the river.
No.
I know,
Okay.
exactly right.
No, but
In process,
I
right?
believe there is or may be a connection to the town line there. I just don't recall.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow, and if you guys think that it makes sense to potentially continue to pursue it, I'll go see it tomorrow and find out those things. Because yeah, that'll be a non-starter for
Yeah,
the inspector.
A little bit of information on this sewer line. The sewer line that runs along with the Stockbridge, Joe, is an Amherst sewer line that goes back to the Amherst sewer plant. The Hadley sewer line does it go down Knightley Road there?
No,
Okay. So it used the old Amherst sewer line for whatever reason, and they did get, I'm not exactly sure of where it starts and stops. But it used to run down Stockbridge Road, but Stockbridge meets Knightley Road about a couple hundred yards away from where your land meets Knightley Road.
well, it continues, there's the sewer pumping station right there, and it will continue on to River Drive,
Oh, it does.
I believe, yeah.
Well,
It's the way anyway.
person you want to talk to instead of your realtor is Scott McCarthy of the Hadley DPW. He would give you, we're kind of remembering from memory, he could give you facts of where the sewer line is on the appropriate roads that you may have frontage on to find out exactly what you have available or not. So don't take our word, take Scott's word.
So if I could just go back a little bit, personally, I think if you're taking bladders of wine and putting them in bottles, that doesn't sound all that different than what the produce company that was in there was doing, collecting produce from farmers and shipping it off to wholesalers or to retailers. If you're do you ferment wine? Is that the?
Yeah, I'm
into-
impressed in you, bladder. Yeah, it's you ferment it, correct? Yeah.
If you are getting into fermenting on site, then I would be more inclined to think that might be manufacturing. But merely repackaging, I don't think is manufacturing, if you can otherwise qualify. And as I understand it, the town does not actually have a direct say in licensing a business of this sort.
Correct. No, it's just I need to ensure that the town is okay with the having a winery there, essentially. Like that's what they'll care about, that there's sign off from you all that you're okay with having that in your town.
Well, we're okay with having it in the town. The question is, are we okay having it there?
Yeah, exactly.
And we don't have quite enough information, apparently. If it really is something you want to pursue and it does have sewer connection that you can use, if you want to educate us a little bit more on the regulatory requirements, we'd be happy to work with you.
Sounds good. I do have a lawyer as well. I obviously didn't bother him for this today because it was last minute. But yeah, so like that, if it makes sense, I can bring him on as well to basically explain why it would make sense, assuming there's sewer.
Now, within the limited business, you are building size limited. I would encourage you to go to the Hadley zone bylaw and read the section about limited business and what you can and cannot do, because you're limited. The building size you have there today is the maximum single building size you can have. Beyond that, you're limited to 2,500 square foot of building. You can have multiple 2,500 square foot buildings, I believe, but only one, if you would, at a time. I mean, the building can only be 2,500 square feet. So if you want to put up an expansion to the building, it would not be permitted. If you want to put up a 5,000 square foot warehouse or a 3,000 square foot warehouse, it wouldn't be permitted. So I want you to understand your limits of the limited business that you are looking at.
Also, as you look around that site, you'll see that there are extensive barns and storage buildings, but they're on agricultural preservation restriction protected land, and they're restricted to farm use. So you probably would not be able to expand into those.
Yeah, that's fine. I like to go get strawberries over there. I know that spot well.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is very helpful for me in all of this, and I'm sure I will see you again soon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. All right, next.
So next, I'm going to, unless one of you wants to say you have something that isn't in common with the other two, why don't you just tell us what your thoughts are? We were going to get some information about the sewer line on North Maple Street, I think.
Yeah, so I think after the last meeting, I had put together the just a town warrant article, pretty simple. Jim had asked to describe it, and so I put that together. I sent that off to the group. I can share my screen. I don't have to. I'm sure you've seen it. And Barry then subsequently, after the meeting, went and talked with your DPW director. And Barry, I don't know if you want to give an update about how the conversation went.
Yes, thank you. I did talk with Scott and went through the permit application form. He said he was amenable to accepting the sewer pumped into the manhole that's basically in front of one of the Babs properties on North Maple Street. Very expensive to do that. Anyways, he was amenable to that for sewer. He was amenable for water as long as we looped it. There is a 6-inch main on Rocky Hill and 8-inch main on North Maple and wants them looped together, which is fine. So that was his only stipulation there. He didn't have any stipulation about the sewer whatsoever.
Okay.
That would involve running the sewer, well, pumping it uphill a ways and then running it, how
Good.
far do you have to run it from where you are planning on building?
You'd have to pump it from Rocky Hill area up to the top of the grade, almost by Rick Babb's house. Not Rick, what's his- the Babb that lives there, and then it can go gravity out to North Maple.
And how long a run is that?
I haven't calculated that.
Can you get what ballpark guess, Barry? I mean, 500 feet, 200 feet, 1,000 feet?
1,500 feet, I would guess.
Okay. So you'd have to run that line up Rocky Hill Road
No, run it on our new road.
or your new road?
Yeah, we were planning on looping, the preliminary design we have in our head is to loop a road from North Maple to Rocky Hill. And so we would flow the sewer down towards Rocky Hill, then pump it back up to a place where it would then be able to flow gravity to North Maple. It's pretty similar to what I did at East Street Commons. We pump the sewer up and it goes through 220 Russell Street and goes out to Route 9 to connect to the sewer there.
So your proposed sewer line would run downhill to a point near Rocky Hill Road,
Which would have a pump station.
You put a pump station there, run it back through your property to North Maple Street?
Yes, go back through the subdivision to
Okay,
a point where it would then grow gravity
Yeah.
into North Maple.
yeah, thank you. Good. Just want to make sure I'm clear. Good. Okay.
I missed the last meeting and I don't know if I missed something else. What is the source property that we're talking about? What is there? I mean, it sounds like it's a concept, but
Proposed over 55 housing.
So I just grabbed the screen to share it for Mark and then so we can actually talk through this a
Okay.
little bit. The GIS is acting up on me, so I am using Google. This is that, Mark, this is that bad property. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit to give you some context. You've
okay.
got
Yep.
Home Depot here, obviously the intersection of 116 and Route 9, North Maple Street, which comes up to Rocky Hill. What we'd be looking to do is rezone with Rocky Hill as the northerly border, 116 is the easterly border, Route 9 is the southerly border, and then North Maple is the westerly border. All of this area as senior housing overlay, but particularly what Barry's looking at is this property here, which is the bad property. And if you recall, I was here with another group that was looking to pick a number of units of multifamily housing.
That
So
was like 200
Yeah.
units or something.
yeah, something like that. Barry would be looking to do over 55 senior housing here, and your bylaw limits it to no more than 50. So I think that's what you're looking at here. And I think, so Barry, with your eyes, you're thinking maybe pump station over here,
Correct?
and then the internal road comes up and loops around to here.
And we're right here where the Mr. Babb lives currently, it will be able to flow by gravity. Once we get it up to this point, be able to flow by
Okay.
gravity.
So you'll pump
By the gravity. Okay, I got you
from
now.
here to here, and then a
And the
gravity feeds.
manhole is right, almost directly across from his driveway.
Okay.
Okay.
This is not the opportunity to design anything from the planning board perspective, but certainly if it goes to a town meeting, there's going to be some vociferous concern from the neighbors to the west and of the traffic. Do you ever plan on exiting not to Rocky Hill Road only and not having a exit onto North Maple Street or South Maple Street? No.
That's North Maple, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Our current thinking is we would have an entrance off of North Maple and loop down to Rocky Hill.
I think it's probably worth having conversations with some neighbors. I mean, you're talking about senior housing, maximum of 50 units with a maximum of 2 bedrooms each. And so even there, it's somewhat limited as to the density you'd have, plus then the natural flow of how many folks would just go Rocky Hill if they're traveling east, or if they're going to travel south, come out here and go down North Maple. Because almost one way or another, if you just throw people onto Rocky Hill, they're going to end up probably traveling the same way. Instead of just coming out here, they'd go out Rocky Hill, come down to the lights, and then take the left onto North Maple. So it doesn't, I don't know what the end game is there.
You probably want the ubiquitous
Let's go to
speed hump.
history from your amount of traffic on your East Street Commons that you could relate to this place. It would be a very similar operation, if you would, for lack of a better term. And your traffic pattern should be, accordingly ratioed appropriately. So I'm anticipating from what I've seen on East Street Commons, you've got minimal traffic. To be honest with you, us old folks don't drive a whole lot in and out every day.
No, if I could put you on the spot, what other concerns do you have as Barry's thinking about this?
So the sewer and water are one.
Okay.
Scott's pretty much agreed that the town can accept that, or you issue that, whatever the case you want to be. You can supply the water, take away the sewer. Traffic, I wouldn't think from what I just commented, from what I've seen of East Street Commons is minimal. I'm assuming it's going to be similar in nature to what East Street Commons looks like. The architecture probably be a little bit different, but that's irrelevant.
So
I have a question for the attorneys. If they put 50 units in there, how does the new ADU law affect that? Does that mean they could have 100 with accessory dwelling units?
I don't believe so, because it would be a single property.
Yeah. The new bylaw reads per property, one
Okay.
dwelling unit. The
Okay.
people here only own the dwelling unit, but not the property.
Not the property. Got it.
Correct. Good question, though.
Yeah, I didn't think of that one.
I would be concerned about the how far the wetlands goes. Certainly the people that take the hay off that property, they always comment about there's only an optimum time that it is available to drive the tractors over it.
Okay.
So that's to be determined.
Yeah. And I think the idea, and Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to leave this, what you see is what you get, so to speak, right? Not to cut into this
area.
forested area. Leave this field, I think this field, which is part of the bad property, gets left and used, not for housing.
It's sort of, it's a little nitpicky, and I don't think it's a big problem, but part of what you encompass in your overlay district is industrial zone, which we don't currently allow residential development in. But I think it also, the industrial is the wettest of the wet area, so wouldn't anticipate there'd be a lot of incursion there.
Other questions? Comments? Thoughts? Anything? Good, bad, otherwise?
Yeah, and I guess for our next, I mean, our questions would be on next steps. Obviously 40A Section 5 requires certain public hearing notice. If there's anything besides those items that you've mentioned now, that we should address, I reached out to Molly Keegan, as I believe Select Board is your sewer commission, just to kind of buttress what your DPW director has said to make sure that, you know, sewer and water are in fact available there, in case that was a leading or gating item, if you will. But just to find out when the hearing could happen, and if there's anything else we could provide for the board for that hearing.
We're gonna get a zone change first.
Yeah, that's what, but I mean the on the zone change itself.
Oh,
'Cause-
oh,
Yeah, because obviously, I know it's not necessarily a referendum on the project, but I think we've all been through this a few times to understand it's somewhat a referendum on the project. So, you know, we'd like to be able to respond to questions, comments, et cetera, if they came up in that hearing.
I believe town meeting is October 17th, Bill, do you know?
I don't know.
I thought somebody said it was October 17th was a town meeting. I'm not positive of that. If it was, we'd probably be having the public hearing on October 15th. That, we gotta get back to you on it, because I'm not sure the exact date of the town meeting.
Okay.
I don't know if this came up in Barry's conversations with Scott, but does anyone have a sense of what kind of impact 50 two-bedroom units would have on the capacity of the sewer in that area on North Maple? Would that get it near topping out, or?
Aaron, do you know did Scott say anything about that?
Yeah, I explained to him that we were planning 50 two-bedroom units. We did the calculation about the gallons. And he did not have any negative comment about it. He told me how much it's gonna cost and wrote my list of words, but he didn't say that, oh, that screws up all of North Maple for, he did not say that.
Okay.
Okay. All I have off the top of my head.
Get to the lobby.
You don't want to go there.
Okay.
I'm still sweeping out the dust from vacation.
Anything else or anybody?
Yeah, I think we know that the parcel can be developed for as a residential subdivision, if that were the wish of the property owners. And I think so, Barry, would this be a condo or would this be a rental operation?
Condo. Very similar to East Street Commons.
Well, then, I think Jim made clear the last time, we really don't want to go through that wrestling over. We tried to create a payment in lieu of providing affordable units on site, and whatever problems you had trying to figure out how you could market affordable units directly, we had as much trouble trying to figure out how we could do a payment in lieu system. So it's in the bylaw but we never have developed regulations that were fair. So
Yeah.
I got that message like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So
There will be affordable units on the site. I think what Barry and I have talked about is whether they're sold as affordable, which has a whole host of things, or rented as affordable. But either way, they will qualify on the subsidized housing inventory.
That's good, because we couldn't find, like, Bill says, we could not find an equitable payment in lieu that was equitable for both sides. It was either, it just, I mean, it's nice to think about, but for something like this, it's really, I mean, what Barry's paid for some payment in lieu in Amherst, holy molies. And, you know, enough said.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally, I'm pro affordable housing, so I would probably lean towards an exorbitant in lieu of to encourage actually building them. That's just my opinion.
Can't say as I disagree with you, Mr. Dunn. Makes it easier. But anyways, okay, that's good. Thank you.
Sure.
Um,
So to your question, Tom, it does seem we are going to have some other zoning articles on anyway, so we definitely will have a zoning public hearing.
right.
Okay. Yeah, let us know what you need from us. If you need additional information, if you need me to wordsmith anything, obviously I'm happy to do it.
Well, as long as you get a description of the area to be with the overlay zone and a picture of it, some kind of a drawing of it, that's all we need. Do we want
Yeah,
to make,
and maybe take a look at what I sent Jim and then let me know, or Bill, same thing. Just if it does it, great. If it doesn't and we need to get something else,
okay,
we can certainly acquiesce to whatever you're looking for.
do we want to make a motion to put this on the warrant? Or wait till next meeting.
Let's wait to the next meeting. It's next meeting. We don't have any public hearings.
Okay,
We'll have Kyle from PVPC if he has any input on it.
okay,
And yeah, we've got the time, but
Okay.
we should probably tell Carolyn that we'll be talking more about what else we're going to be doing. So
Right.
we'll be able to tell her how many articles we will need.
okay.
Would you like us back September 3rd?
Only if you want to find out what we decide on the motion, that's all.
But it's probably a good idea to be here
That's what I
because
figured.
we get easily distracted sometimes.
Yeah, and you may have something for the main Subaru place on a signage too.
Sure, that's a great point. Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Next items are still waiting for town meeting for Attorney General approval. I talked to town,
Jim, before we get to that, so Keyshore's here and we were last time we talked about just I'll call them the substantive changes
yeah,
to the senior housing overlay. And we're looking for some direction. It sounded like it was going to be a bigger conversation than, obviously what we're talking about with Barry is taking existing and just extending it. And what we're talking about for the Parmars is changing what's existing.
Right.
And so, if there's anything that we should be thinking about that we can help to push this along, it doesn't sound like fall is going to happen,
Yeah.
but spring. And if we should be, how do you want us to work this? What information can we provide to you? Should we work with, PVPA, PVPC, et cetera? Like, how do you see this going?
yeah, let me explain. The next two items kind of fall together.
Oh, good. Okay.
The attorney or conflict with each other, maybe is a better way to say it. The attorney, not the Attorney General, but the recent state legislature that allows accessory dwelling units everywhere by right has thrown many towns into a quandary because now we've got to draft something or amend something and we've got to get it onto the fall town meeting warrant because the effective date of the accessory dwelling units is February 2025 to give towns or cities some time to draft or adopt something. So I took a quick look at your proposal for amending the senior housing bylaw, and that's about all it went because within a couple of days, it came down that the state has approved these accessory dwelling units, and my focus has shifted 100% to try to redraft that and make appropriate changes to get it onto the fall town meeting warrant. So,
Understood.
I mean, I think if you give us anything, it's not going to get looked at for probably a month or two, Tom. But once this accessory dwelling unit bylaw can be corrected or amended, whatever you want to call it, then I think we'll have better time to look at what you are proposing. Because in the meantime, I'm not gonna put I myself, I doubt the others are gonna be putting too much time into it.
Okay.
So, the only question I would have, Jim, is I understand that the accessory dwelling is a big, drop and it takes precedent and it's a priority. But do you think that if the changes that, we proposed that Tom said, if we do move forward, we could still I mean, it's a big if, but would it still be on for the Springtown meeting for next year?
That would be my goal.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, I'm not putting you off till the fall of next year. I just don't wanna, I wanna concentrate on the appropriate item at the time. And once this accessory dwelling is corrected out, then I think we can put a whole lot more time into the overlay, not the overlay, the senior housing bylaw and make that appropriate for the Springtown meeting.
So when do you think Tom and I should re-engage you or show up to a meeting again, or should we just show
I
up?
see Tom coming to most of our planning board meeting for the next several, so he can keep bringing it up and he'll find out where we stand on the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, and then we can move on to the senior housing one.
I would say the first November meeting would not be too soon to get working on something of this scale.
Okay. I mean, I don't mind showing up every other week either to see if it's progressing either. So, but you're thinking probably at the earliest sometime at the end of next month, beginning of November.
Yeah, it depends when a town meeting falls, but I think that would be a good time to hit us again, say, okay, the dust has settled on these things, it's either passed or not, you guys are all set. Can we look at senior housing now?
Okay. Understood.
And Bill, so first, November 5th is election day. I know you can't hold a public hearing, but are you holding a public meeting then?
We
Yes.
can have public meetings, just we can't have a public hearing.
Okay, so if we put in November 5th, Kishore, then we can say, okay,
We can talk all we want that day,
Right.
just like we're doing today.
okay.
All right.
The other thing we're trying to focus on is having Kyle from Pioneer Valley Planning Commission be the main act on the first Tuesdays of the month, especially since we're getting hit with a primary and a general election on the first Tuesday of the month. So that's something that we'd like to engage him with as well. So the 5th should work well.
Because he's interested in a lot of these topics as well.
Understood.
And the other thing is that, and this goes into Mark to some extent. We were originally thinking that the 40R smart zoning would be on the Springtown meeting, but last time you raised a concern that probably it was going to slip to fall of 2025.
Yeah, I think that we don't have the funding for them to spend the time at this point to get it done. It seemed like a reach. And that's, again, all pending what our public feedback is.
It potentially gives us we were really holding a Springtown meeting for the 40R because that was going to be a big one, but if that has to get bumped, that has to get bumped, but that leaves space to take up something significant for spring.
Yeah, I just don't see how, because it would really need to be fully fleshed out by like February, that's just, I don't see that happening. Especially with a volunteer board. That means twice a month instead of a full-time planning office that could work on it throughout the weeks.
Anything else on this one? No?
It covers in.
Thanks.
The accessory apartments sent around my first rough draft on amending the section 26. Anybody have a chance to look at it or make comments?
I looked through it. I think it's good. The one thing I wonder is whether that first paragraph would require an amendment to the definition section as well. Or
Oh.
whether it can just sit there by itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, and I'll add a section to the definition section on that.
But otherwise, yeah, I was thinking of floating a proposal to make accessory apartments that were connected to the existing dwelling by right anyway, since, of all of the special permits we have had, I can only recall one that was very strongly opposed by the neighbors and withdrawn by the applicant, who apparently had been running an accessory apartment for years over his garage. But apart from that, which is really an enforcement issue more than anything else, the attached accessory apartments have been a non-issue. The detached accessory apartment, it's going to be a lot of work for the building department. Septic versus sewer. I don't think you touched on that.
I did.
Okay.
I did under 26.2.1. If the dwelling unit has its own water supply connection, it's got to have its own septic system that if it's required, or it has its own sewer tie-in if required. And in the introduction paragraph is that it has to comply with state Title V environmental code, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. I talked to the building, Tom couldn't make it tonight, but I asked him, what do you think about, and I'm hoping we can still do a administrative review of this without any formal notification or otherwise, except the posting and the agendas. And we'll find out what town council might say on that, or the attorney general. But Tom is very much in favor, building inspector, on us doing the admin review, because if we can't do an admin review, he's going to have a whole lot of extra work to do on this. At least if we can do the admin review, then he's only going to worry about building code.
Oh, Jim, I don't like the idea of it's allowed in all districts.
Me either, but that's not our choice.
What do you mean it's not our choice?
Any place that you can build a single family dwelling, ADUs are permitted by state law.
And
They don't have to be
how can
owner-occupied.
how can they overrule, for example, a septic system problem?
They're not. They even say you've got to comply with state codes. You cannot overrule septic. So if somebody has a 3-bedroom house on a 25,000 or 20,000 square foot lot, and they want to add a bedroom, they can't. They cannot add an accessory unit. They have to convert within the house an accessory unit. There's a lot of places in Hadley that won't be able to comply with this new bylaw. I mean, state law.
I looked, just happened to glance, a few towns in surrounding us have already accessory bylaws, and a lot of them don't yet. So you mean to say there are going to be sanctions imposed upon these towns?
No, if you don't have a bylaw regarding accessory dwelling units, then it will revert to state code, and your bylaw is going to be ruled by state accessory bylaw code.
Well, it's almost that way now. For example, we were supposed to have, we have 12% of our housing as affordable, yet the state comes in and they put people in the Knights Inn and the Econo Lodge over what we complied with the state. In fact, we had more of a percentage than any of the neighboring communities. So this,
I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Joe, but the state law has passed. Accessory dwelling units, attached or detached, are allowed on in every single town in the state, provided they still have to meet by right, but they have to meet, they still have to meet setbacks. They still have to meet septic or zoning codes.
excuse me, Jim, about the setbacks. Their setback is 5 feet from the side yard. The state code was, that was my next question.
I didn't see 5 feet.
I missed that. I didn't read the whole thing.
Because I'm specifically remembering that there has to meet town, has to meet municipal setbacks.
Well, I hope that I'm wrong on that. And the other thing is, with a trailer, qualified as a unit, just somebody parking a trailer there.
Nope.
Why? It would not?
You would have to, even when that proposed bylaw came in to do detached accessory apartments, it called for on a foundation. Her trailer would not have qualified under the bylaw she was advocating for. So, no, trailers will not. It'll have to be connected. It'll have to be plumbed. It'll have to have a permanent waste connection. Some people are going to be thinking that, oh, we just connect to our septic system. But as Jim said, if you have a septic system that's undersized or maxed out, you don't get another.
No, I don't know if we can require them to put in their own septic system, but I asked the appropriate people in town hall this one, if you have a dwelling unit and you put a detached dwelling unit in and it's on septic, does it have to have its own septic system? They said we would like it to, but they were unsure on exactly if we could allow use that. But they said in any case, it cannot tie into the septic system. That line has to go back to the house, tie into the house septic system to tie into the main septic system.
Or if you're over 3 bedrooms combining both housing units, it wouldn't, you'd have
We
to.
put a new septic in.
Okay, good, that's good clarification. The other one, do you remember when that, there was a concern on East Street, it was not called a trailer, but it was called a tiny house, and the toilet system was going to be a green potty, so to speak. That doesn't qualify as a.
The way the bylaw is written, the way our amended bylaw is written, you need to have either a septic system or a sewer system. Period. Those are the 2 permitted sanitary systems.
Yeah, and I remember one time Bill was saying a certain square footage should be involved, but I guess that's been shot down by the state. But so there is no, you can put them on, for example, where I'm sitting right now, looking at this postage stamped lot. I could park a house right up on the knoll here, and
If
You
there's
still-
adequate land for a septic system,
And you still have to meet setbacks.
right?
well, that's the thing. I thought I thought I read something about the side yard 5 feet only, but
No, I remember specifically seeing that the towns can impose certain restrictions, including setbacks, reasonable setbacks.
okay.
I think that's the wording that was used.
Yeah, so I don't think we can come up with a special rule of setbacks for accessory dwellings, but
That's what I was afraid of. Then we'd have to really put it in the whole chart.
Just
Okay,
the standard setback, whatever dwelling needs to meet today, the accessory dwelling.
and would it be possible to have someone, Kaylee, for example, get the ADU bylaws for Sutherland, Williamsburg?
doesn't matter at this point.
Huh?
Doesn't matter at this
Oh,
point.
what?
They're all
what
out.
how they wrote it up, and is there anything that we've missed that would be available to us that we
If you
would like to include?
If you would like to go to each of the towns, you could, those bylaws are almost all readily available online, Joe. You can download them.
I did alert Kyle that we would like to, that asked him to be prepared to discuss this on the 3rd.
You know, it's becomes truly amazing that the state is dictating. I mean, certainly if you're along the MBTA line and you're in a residential area, that residential home can be demolished and it can have a 4-story apartment building. And certainly the ADU units, yes, I can understand they want to make housing affordable, but I was just talking to a contractor. If you had to put a sewer in, you had to put a water line in, and you had to, it's say 1,000 square feet, let's say I know it's 900 square feet, but the cost is up to 250,000 to put all these things together. So it's really not affordable. And I'm saying, well, what else is the problem? And they were talking about the stretch code in the building code. He said, everything from the insulation that you use, no more 2x4s, 2x6s have to be used. Oil burners are not going to be allowed for hot water. You have to include wiring for your Tesla. So all of these things add to not just the local communities trying to make large housing lots. So
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of sticker shock. Tommy's talking about people regularly coming in to express interest about what they can do. But I think once they find out what the constraints are, even if we didn't have the bylaw, when they find out these constraints, that sure, you can have an accessory unit in your backyard for a mere sounded like 250 covered the foundation and the infrastructure. I'm not sure if that included the building itself.
okay. We purposely wanted to keep it low so it would say exaggerating, Joe.
The cost of converting if you got an accessory garage and you want to make it into an accessory dwelling, you're going to have to comply with the current building code. And that's, people think, oh, that's going to be a piece of cake. Well, when they find out what the cost is going to be, it's no piece of cake. It's a piece of cake, but it's a very expensive piece of cake.
Yeah.
And it's all got to do with mass building code. I mean, you've got one part of the state that is pushing to make everything affordable, and another part of the state that's wants to make all these changes, which drives the cost out of sight. But we have no control over either. We just got to comply. I'm just wondering if there's going to be any lawsuits filed over this by some towns.
Well, they already are on the MBTA lines, 3 towns of.
No, I'm talking about this accessory dwelling on the some of the more wealthy communities trying to fight this.
The wealthy communities never comply.
Well, we'll find out. Anyways,
okay.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Yes, I agree. So, all right.
Like cool, yeah.
I think
I had also asked Kyle to look at, and he did get one sample, and I haven't really looked at it, of a bylaw that allowed for parking lot solar.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Oh, the parking canopy, yeah.
yes, now that would be to allow it. I understand from your comments, Joe, that there are problems with them. And whether anyone would want to actually build one, well, we won't know until we authorize it. But I think, for some of the malls, you don't see any harm in having it out there.
Something to be discussed. Anything else?
Have you had a chance to look over the minutes?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So we'll try to get that at a future meeting.
Thank you, Kayla. And also I need to do that on the smart growth.
Wait a minute.
She's been very good about those minutes. I just haven't had a chance to go over them.
Yeah, no rush.
I do have one. Pay the Gazette, $471.12 for legal advertisements.
I would move to pay it.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? If not, roll call vote. Aye.
Done, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Raddick, aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Dwyer?
I have nothing else.
Anybody else have anything?
I do not.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Motion second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Thank you, Kyla and Kayla, and thank you, Alex.
The ayes have it. Good night, folks.
Good night.